I'm South African fine artist Lillian Gray. Today I'm going to show you the basics of printmaking. We will be doing lino cut. Okay, what you're going to need is a sheet of lino. This is called a lino block or a lino cut. There are various brands on the market. I love Ross. They're pretty affordable and they're great to cut. They're quite easy to work with. And I also know there's quite a money saver where people actually use linoleum flooring tiles to cut with. But I don't think this costs that much. I think it's wonderful to have. So you can have your breeze cut. They come in different sizes. Depends on how big you want your print. I've got a brayer, which is my roller to apply my ink. I've got my Linocut tools. Once again, I also like using the Rolf's one, which has got various nibs to cut with, and I will show you guys how to use these. I have a white chalk or a white pencil, a reference that I'd like to cut out and draw, and I've got two nice big spoons to print with. This is also a money saver because you don't then need a printing press. So I'm going to show you how to print with a teaspoon, which is much cheaper. And I've got linoleum ink. Now, lino ink is very different to acrylic. This is much more stickier. It takes longer to dry. Acrylic really doesn't work. Your paper ends up tearing and it dries too quickly. So it doesn't really work. So this one is much better. It takes much longer to dry. Gives you more time to print accurately, and the stickiness factor helps that your print doesn't move around. So those are the basics of what you will be needing, and you obviously need paper to print on. Okay, putting your image onto your linoleum, there are various options. I like sketching out and finding my shapes first, so I do that with a chalk. The reason with a chalk is I can just loosely create my lines and see where I want what and properly plan. I don't want to have too much open space and really make sure that my zebra is filling my area. If you don't like what you've done, you can simply just wipe it off and start again. Once you have committed to your shapes, you can draw it out now properly. A nice white pencil also works really well to really be able to see what you're doing. If you don't have a white pencil, you can use a Koki. The Koki will show on the lino. It's not always as clear, but you can use a Koki to draw out your drawing. Now with lino, it's very important to realize that it's kind of the opposite, right? You're cutting away everything that needs to remain white. Whatever you want to print remains black, you do not cut. Okay? So it's the opposite of a pencil drawing. Okay, so black stays, white out. What that means with my zebra is that I am going to keep my black stripes. Now, if you want to just have a little cheat, you can make little and tick marks on what you want to keep and X's on what you want to cut out, just so you don't get completely confused. I always say be kind to your inner artist. If you've got a little cheat that works for you and makes it easy, go for it. But I kind of know what I'm doing, so this is how I'm going to approach it. So I'm going to just quickly explain to you the tools and the different nibs. In your pack, you will usually have at least 5 different nibs, which goes, small, medium, large, and it really depends on what you're going to be making. For finer detail, you're going to be using your smaller nib. For bigger lines and thicker line quality, you'll be using thicker stuff. To really take away in a complete area, you'll use the soft blade. To reload your tool, you simply just push in your little stick. I'm going to knock the table now. You knock and it comes out. and then you can switch to the next one. Okay, now safety rules. The most important thing, I cannot state this enough. You never, ever, ever point this tool to someone. You never try and use it for stuff it's not. You don't use it when it's blunt. To sharpen it, you literally just take some sandpaper, like a 100 grit, and you can sharpen it quite nicely. But never, ever, ever, the most important rule is cut towards your body. If this thing slips, you will impale yourself. It's going to be really anal. So you always, always work away from your body. Also, bear in mind, if you place your hand here and you cut like this, you are working towards your body. So every single body part of yours, everything that sticks out, keep it away from the tools. Move away because it can slip. And once that slips, you've got no control. And trust me, they cut quite deep. Okay, now, what I often see students do wrong is they delve in like this. You're not digging for oil. That is just going to get you stuck, right? We never want to be a Land Rover stuck in a marsh. We want to be ballerinas or ice skaters in art, usually. We want to glide. So I am gliding. I am not actually pushing that hard. This liner is not about strength. It's just about keeping your blade sharp and gliding with a steady hand. And now I am cutting away my stripes. What's also really important is that you guys don't poke a hole straight through. With lino, it's different to painting. Painting, you can paint over your errors. With lino, once you've made the mark, you've committed, you've made the mark. The only way to fix it is to start over with a new piece of lino. And lino can get expensive if you start working like that. So rather be more accurate. Rather just go lightly. And then once you know exactly where your lines are, switch to the thicker, broader blades. For now, I'm just going to use the small blades and make sure everything is exactly where I want it and I don't get stuck. Remember, gliding. Okay, so one of the elements of art is line. So I just wanted to show you guys line quality is really important. When I speak about line quality, I'm talking about is your line thick, thin, hard, fast, slow, and textures. How do we add different textures with different lines? So I just want to show you here in this corner just a few techniques. Like you do in pencil sketches, you can stipple, right? And so you can also stipple in lino by just removing small little areas. When you need a dot, you can also, what I like to do is I like to keep my tool and just swivel it in one place. Then I get a nice dot for like the highlight in the eye. That works well. You can also do some cross hatching, right, in lino. So you want to do really add some interesting marks. There's a little cross hatch. You can also do a little basket weave. Basket weave is 1, 2, 3, twist in a different direction. 1, 2, 3, oops, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and you really get interesting marks. You want your print to be visually interesting. And not be boring. So add interesting textures, patterns, and if you're doing an African theme, remember Africa is loud and proud and bold and have very diverse patterns. So it really helps to know these different mark making techniques. Okay, I'm going to be squeezing out my lino ink. You can use any flat tray. This is now specially made for printing. I'm going to squeeze it out long so that it covers my entire brayer. I'm not going to just make a blob here in the middle. I'm going to start moving back and forth with my brayer. You're going to see that this is quite sticky. This is too sticky, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a tiny bit of water to my ink. If you buy the ink brand new, it will probably not be this sticky. But like I said, stickiness is actually one of the properties you want. But there, now I can see it moves nicely. Okay, so now I am quite a happy chappy with my ink. I've prepared my ink. Let's now place the ink onto our liner. I'm working on an old telephone book. Now, a lot of you would not know what this is. It's from an ancient time. But the reason is I like rolling out my ink, and when this page gets dirty, I like tearing this page out and working on the next one. Really keep your station clean, because this ink is so sticky and it really gets onto everything. So let's start rolling and we see where we're going with this. I'm going to be moving my ink over. Now, if you've added too much water, your ink is going to roll into the places that you've carved away. That is a disaster. You're going to have to wash your liner and restart. As you can see here, my ink has gone into those marks, so my ink might have too much water in, or my liner simply isn't cut deep enough. I can see that I didn't cut that deep enough. But let's do a test print and see what happens so we know what else to change. I'm using just a card paper, 300 grams, and it's very smooth. I like printing on really smooth paper. I am going to carefully take my liner and flip it around. I'm going to leave enough space around my edges, right? Once you've committed and put it down, leave it. Don't move it around, okay? And now I've got a clean brayer, and I'm going to apply pressure with this brayer. Okay, now I'm applying pressure at the top with my brayer. Okay, now, you all don't have a printing press at home, but what works really well is an old spoon. So, what you want to do is you want to really apply pressure now. So I'm putting my finger on my spoon and I'm making sure I am pushing pressure absolutely everywhere on this liner to make sure it's nice and even. This avoids the cost of a printing press and the operation of a printing press, which can be quite hectic. So I'm literally making sure I'm rubbing every single area. And a bigger spoon, you know, if you've got a massive liner, I don't use a teaspoon. For a liner this size, a teaspoon works great. So just make sure you apply a lot of pressure absolutely everywhere. Okay, now let's see how this baby printed. If I applied enough pressure, if I did all my mark making correct, and let's see what this reveals. Okay, there's my first print for my zebra. Now this is just a test print, so I can now see what I need to correct. I don't think my ink is strong enough. I'd like to see more black. This is considered bad in inking printing when this happens, but it's nice to see where my lines are at. I think I can make my outer edge a bit thicker and just tweak a few of these other marks, and we're going to print it again. Okay, so now I can really see where the issues are. Like, I really thought that this area could have printed more crisp. So I can really clean this up and make this line thicker and much deeper. I can also see where in my patterns they were too shallow and I need to add more depth. So really clean up your print to make sure that your next test run prints quite beautifully. Okay, I've now really adjusted my print and I think would make a much cleaner print and tweak some stuff. So let's check for our second time. Okay, so my previous print, my ink was too watery, so I'm just gonna make this sticky again by adding more, making sure I cover my entire brayer and then it rolls out evenly. I'm now on a new page of my telephone book and I am going to be rolling out my ink. Ooh, nice and sticky. Yeah, the stickiness. Okay, and I can see that my zebra is still not going to print beautifully. Alright, so now we're going to move on. Okay, ready for the reveal? Let's hope this came out well. And I'm slowly going to lift. Now I can see that is a proper black and white print. My blacks are looking nice and solid. You can see that I've pressed hard here. Could have pressed harder there with a teaspoon. Could be a bit more critical of myself here. But overall, I really like this print and I'm excited about this. Okay, so some of you might have questions like, okay, Lillian, why Linocut? Why printmaking? Why can't I just paint this zebra in ink and it will look the same? Yes, it will look the same. You can have the same effect. Go for it. But the beauty with Lino is the fact that this is like a stencil and you can print over and over and over again. So usually what artists do is they have a limited print range. They say it's 1 of 20, 2 of 20, 3 of 20, and so they continue. And it's just, and they only print 20, sell 20 prints, and that's it. So it's a helpful way to make money out of a lot of craft and then selling that for repeated income. But there's other tricks that's wonderful with Lino. And just as a fun end off, I'm going to show you how to make wrapping paper out of this. And another way, just remember, this is Lino for Dummies. I'm keeping it quite simple in this lesson, and I'm not showing you how to work with multiple colors. We'll do another video on that. But I'm just going to show you a fun way of adding extra color is by actually printing on colorful paper. So we'll do that. You can also print on old music sheets. It looks awesome. Old journals, print on magazine papers. Think of William Kentridge. He prints on anything you can find. Printing in old dictionaries. It really looks awesome when you do linos on various kinds of papers. You get some interesting stories and interpretations of that. Okay, I'm going to switch to blue Linocut ink and I am just going to be printing that, and I'm just going to make a fun gift wrapping paper that I could use for whatever. Okay, let's get rolling. Okay, now can you Okay, I've now done my wrapping paper. You can obviously press much harder, and to keep your lines crisp, keep washing your lino and keep on washing, printing, washing, printing. But I think this makes it awesome and it's going to look like an awesome gift. Remember, when you do wrapping paper, tessellate and switch directions, so whichever way you wrap it, people can see the zebra from the right way up. Okay, so I hope you guys understand the basics of Linocut now, and let your print dry for at least 2 days, because lino ink is a lot like oil paint, so it takes a long time to dry. And when you present your art, make sure it looks amazeballs. That's it. I am Lillian Gray, South African fine artist, and this was a lesson on Linocut Printmaking. I hope you guys are excited to learn and discover more about this awesome medium.